Welcome back to the Pat Long Codes YouTube channel. In today's video, we're going to be looking at using the BeautifulSoup Python library to scrape the Federal Reserve Open Market Committee's website for the meeting minutes, which might be a useful scenario if you're looking to extract some raw text for natural language processing. So let's take a look at the FOMC website. And so this is going to be sort of the root website where I get the, from the calendar, I get the year of all the meeting minutes. And then from the year, I then go to get the actual transcripts from those meetings, which kind of look like this. And then, I'm not, for the purposes of this video, I'm not actually going to be doing any kind of things with the text data, but I'm going to show you how I could easily go about collecting it and then putting it as one column in a pandas data frame, and then getting some other data to go along with that, like the date, the month, and various other things you can extract from these data. So now I'm back in my Jupyter notebook, just importing various libraries like pandas and NumPy. I'm going to be using the regular expression library, at some point in this first step. And in this first step, I'm just going to be creating two lists, one of the date and the other one of the URL for a particular meeting. As I mentioned above, in this notebook, it's slightly nuanced in that the FOMC have changed the location of where the minutes have been placed over time. So I'm going to have a couple of if then scenarios to account for that. And you'll see as I go further down, collecting these two lists, exactly what I'm talking about there. But first off, this is my sort of root URL, the calendar, what I'm calling calendar_URL. And that's where the FOMC calendar is. I just want to make sure I got the right address. And so, yeah. And, then I'm just going to be making my beautiful soup objects. So, yeah, one thing I will point out with BeautifulSoup is here I'm going to put the HTML parser as the second argument. You don't actually need to do that. That is the default, if you look at the BeautifulSoup documentation. And also another point, I'm using the find all method here, find_all, and there's also find camel case all without the underscore. And in BeautifulSoup 4, I kind of use them interchangeably in a couple of other BeautifulSoup videos I've done, and there's absolutely no difference between them. Find_all is the preferred one. I'm trying to use that in all my code these days. But yeah, just sort of a digression here. Here I'm using regular expression for the to account for the date of the minutes. And so, yeah, no, I'm also going to be really sort of getting into it now. As I'm going through each year, I'm going to, then create a URL based on the particular year, as we looked at in the introduction. There's different locations for each year, so I'm going to look through the years, and then within the years, I'm going to get the the particular meeting minutes. This, I believe, and I'm not 100% sure on this. You can check on the federal, the FOMC website to be sure, but there are typically a minimum of 8 meetings per year, and they're not in a fixed order. Sometimes they can be emergency meetings. So I'm not an economist. I'm not super familiar with the FOMC and when their minutes might be. So I'm also making these particular I'm passing through each year, and then I also have to have special stipulations based on when the particular year is, because the Federal Reserve changed the locations after 2007, so the URLs are a slightly different form, so I'm kind of accounting for that here. But my best recommendation for sort of going through this code is to run it yourself. This code is fully reproducible, and it's in the description below. So what I often do, if I'm running, something like this, I'll often just put extra print statements to see what's going along, as I go through. So I can sort of elaborate more on what exactly is happening under the hood here. Again, finding out about these particular years is something, I had to go looking on the website to figure out, what's the different scenario based on a different time frame. And so, yeah, basically, it's just that they added in another before 2007. The minutes were URL was a certain way, and after 2007, it's a certain way. So I just had to account for that here. And again, I figured that out by going through the website before I was doing any of this. So yeah, from using the find all here, I'm getting the from the HTML, I'm taking the href, the link to these particular URLs that we are then going to want to get our data from, which is the text of the FOMC minutes. So again, making use of regular expressions here. and then I'm going to end up with two lists, and one that is going to have the links that I'm going to use, and one that has the dates for the corresponding minutes. Sorry, the corresponding dates for the minutes. And like I was mentioning earlier, I often use the built-in print function to just look at what these things look like. And so here you see it. That's kind of the URLs, or the part of the URL we'll want later on. And the corresponding dates. So after all that work, let's look at what the sort of final product I'm going to be wanting is. I'm going to want a data frame that captures the date of the minutes and the text, but I'm also going to also take a look at the various other things you could get from the date, like the year. And at the end of this, I'm just going to do like the bare minimum EDA. I'm going to look at the length of the meeting minutes and using the length function on the text column, which is what I've called it up here. So text and minute length will be derived from the length of the text. And I'll just look at that over time and see if there's sort of an interesting story to tell here. As if you're an economist, you might look at like the business cycle over a 20-year period. Maybe just total speculation, maybe the length of the minutes changed as the business cycle fluctuated. Or maybe not, and we'll just take a look at that. That's probably just the sort of most preliminary thing you might do for an EDA on these data. But so we're making uses of what we did in step one here. I'm taking these links that I create up here, and then I'm going to actually go in there and again use BeautifulSoup just to get all the text from those particular URLs, and put them in just a column of a pandas data frame. Given the sort of nature of this text, you'll see that it's not something that takes very long to run. But depending on what you're doing, you may want to not store them in a data frame, or you may want to store them, in some, you may want to save them somewhere. If it was if it was a lot of text, it may be more efficient to save it somewhere and then come back to it later. But for me, this is although it sounds like it might be a lot of data, sort of 20 years of Federal Reserve meeting minutes, it's really not. The text minutes are actually quite short. So once I run this, it should only, if I use the time it line magic, it would probably show it only takes about 20 seconds. Or it may even be less than that. I'm not 100% sure. But again, this is fully reproducible code, and it's in the description below, and you can run it for yourself to see if that's the case. So I'm making use of a few things here just to take out. I'm going to take out all the EOLs to make sure there's no end of the line, and the text runs continuously. which could be typically a sort of a good idea if you're going to be doing some sort of natural language processing or some sort of text analysis on some data that is just a continuous string like these meeting minutes. Yeah, and just removing excessive, blank lines as well. Again, not a bad idea. And you could go many steps further with how you're going to clean this. I really haven't done anything. There's a lot of things you could do if if this kind of takes a little bit of domain knowledge maybe, to where you're going to look at what is in the what is actually in the the text itself, and so you may want to remove certain things that come up a lot. So yeah, again, I didn't go to that extent. I'm just trying to sort of do a bare bones example, but I think at the same time quite an extensive one. And again, since it's very reproducible, it should be fairly straightforward. I'm going to make use of the data frame lock method to as I loop through the each link in the master links list. I'm going to write to each column the data that I'm retrieving, and that includes the date, the actual text itself into its own column from the meeting minutes, and many other columns that are derived from the date, including year, month, day, and minute length, which is derived from the text itself. So just I'm using the length function to get that, and the retrieved URL, which is just some useful information, I think, because you have a column where you see where you actually got the data from. So again, I'm just gonna, once I'm done with this, I'm just gonna print the first. I'm just gonna print the first 5 lines of the data. But again, this is fully reproducible, so you could take this code that's linked in the description below and save it to somewhere, like using the data frame to Excel method or whatever, or to JSON, and look at it more extensively yourself. I'm just going to print this, and it's probably not going to show the whole thing. I have a couple of errors I will need to fix here. Oh yeah, so I think because I'm using a date time object, and I'm missing a parenthesis from the third argument, and yeah, so just give me a second while I work through this. Yeah, and I think, again, this is kind of the cool thing about the traceback here. You can see you get a good sense of what the problem is. So yeah, I think it should be all set now. And again, like I was saying, it's a lot of text it's running through, but it really doesn't take that long. And if you repurpose this code or doing something similar, it may take a lot longer. These minutes aren't that long. So yeah, again, I did print out that small subset of the data frame, just the first 5 rows. And now I'm going to jump into doing just a really bare bones preliminary EDA where we're looking at the length of the FOMC minutes over time, just to see what they, kind of look like. It might be an interesting thing to look at if you're, interested in how maybe how long the minutes are, depending on how the economy is doing. Again, I'm not a domain knowledge expert. That may not be a great thing to be looking at first, but it was just something fairly simple I thought would be easy to look at in this context. So yeah, and I'm not trying to introduce a big tutorial on Matplotlib either. I'm just doing the simplest possible example I can with a just a line chart over time, and accepting a lot of the default settings with Matplotlib. And I'm also going to make use of the pandas plot method. And so it's just going to be the x-axis is the date, and then I'm going to put the minute length as the y-axis, and we're just going to look at the minute length the length of the minutes over time. And so, that's kind of what we're looking at. I was curious, does it change over the business cycle? There was kind of a recession in 2010 and it went up, but then it just has kind of carried on steadily going up over time. So I'm not sure how useful that is, but that might be like a preliminary EDA. So yeah, again, basically this tutorial was just to give a really easily reproducible example where you could go through yourself how you might go about retrieving text data from disparate sources within the same website. So again, hopefully that was a useful example. It's fairly extensive, and it definitely is something you should check the code in the description below and run for yourself to figure out exactly all the different things that went on there. But from a BeautifulSoup standpoint, we mainly just used the find all method to go through getting the links, and then again to get the actual text data in the second step. So yeah, hopefully this is a useful example, and thanks for watching along, and hope to see you in the next video.